Colorado's top Republican, fresh off a humiliating loss, is handed a mass call for his resignation by other GOP leaders. Marshall Zellinger looks at why hitting rock bottom could help the state GOP.
Right now, there's very little hope for Republicans to make many gains.
Denver claims it's making progress in moving people out of its House 1000 hotels and into permanent housing. And RTD trains aren't running properly this summer, so would this be a bad time to hit taxpayers up for more money? RTD, the Colorado Republican Party, and this program, all trying to keep it on the rails, tonight on Next.
Colorado Republican Chairman Dave Williams is not having a happy Pride Month. After calling for the burning of all pride flags, he got torched by 30 points in his congressional primary last night. And today, Williams faces a formal call for his resignation from more than 100 Republican Party leaders. This afternoon, Williams' critics within the state party announced that they had gathered more than the required signatures from 25% of the state central committee to force a formal vote on Williams' future. If 60% of the state central committee votes against him, Williams is out. He faces complaints that he misused party funds to benefit his own losing congressional campaign and to attack other Republicans. The anti-gay bigotry that he sent out in mass emails to Republicans also led to calls for him to go. Williams has said he won't resign. So let's review what happened with Dave Williams in the terrible, horrible, no good, very bad primary day. Colorado Republicans dropped their neutrality rules this year to endorse in GOP primaries to boost Williams and others. And nearly all of them lost to their Republican opponents. Average losing margin, a whopping 28 points. Williams got posterized by Jeff Crank, 65 to 35% in the GOP primary for Colorado's 5th congressional district. That's the safe Republican seat in El Paso County. Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert continues to be a political force in and of herself, no matter what's going on with the Colorado GOP. She won 43% of the vote in a 6-way race in the state's safest Republican seat, representing Dougco, Loveland, and the Eastern Plains. Those were her shoes last night. Margin and her opponents evenly splitting the remaining vote suggests that Boebert could have won a one-on-one race as well. Our Marshall Zellinger spoke with a political science professor who explains why the Colorado GOP burning to the ground could be the best thing for the party.
One of the party's strongest powers is its ability to choose its candidates.
And yet that power resulted in limited results for the Colorado Republican Party. Outside of Lauren Boebert winning in Congressional District 4, the majority of candidates picked by the Republican Party did not advance to the general election in November. 14 of the 18 endorsed Republicans are losing. The worst outcome was Janak Joshi in the 8th Congressional District. He was down 55 points to Republican winner Gabe Evans.
Right now, there's very little hope for Republicans to make many gains statewide.
There will still be Republicans on the November ballot, just not the ones the party preferred. And in 2016, CSU political science professor Kyle Saunders predicted this.
There were going to be places where Donald Trump was going to do damage to the Republican Party. And I thought Colorado was going to be one of those.
The Trump effect on the Colorado Republican Party appears to be benefiting the Democratic Party.
And if Trump continues to be the de facto leader of the party, it's going to be very hard for the Republicans to adapt. Trump just does not do well with educated voters, especially among unaffiliated.
30 years ago, Republicans controlled the state legislature and briefly even the governor's office. Since then, Democrats have swung solidly in control.
The pendulum in Colorado used to swing very quickly, right? It used to really bounce back and forth pretty fast if you go back before 2014. So the ceiling could be that the Republicans hold 3 congressional districts, hold no statewide offices, have no power in the state legislature, et cetera, and just hold those 3 congressional seats with the possibility of maybe gaining the 8th congressional district.
It's that 8th congressional district where the Colorado Republican Party's choice lost to the other Republican by 55 points.
The other Republican is Gabe Evans, who was endorsed by Trump. So that could be our litmus test on the Trump support in Colorado. Congressional District 8 was decided by 1,632 votes 2 years ago. That was Democratic Representative Yujiro Caraveo's win over Republican Barb Kirkmeyer. So will the Trump analysis by Kyle Saunders hold true, that he's a drag in Colorado? Or will it be the one bright spot for Republicans to raise their ceiling ever so much by getting 4-4 in Congress instead of 5-3?
The thing we've got to remember, as you say, Trump is the sun around which the Republican Party, orbits. And I'll be watching for any kind of daylight between Trump and Williams, right? Because they've been very tight. Williams worked on his campaign, although that kind of went sideways. Then he got his endorsement, and he's always been like, I'm tight with Donald Trump. But if Donald Trump picks up the phone and calls some people in Colorado and says, hey, this Dave Williams guy, I'm not going to do a Trump impression, this Dave Williams guy is a loser. I don't like losers. That's got to be the end for Williams.
I would have liked to have done some analysis between Trump votes in 2020 and what we saw last night, but the districts have moved and changed because of redistricting, so I couldn't see, did someone overperform in a Trump district? Did someone underperform? I think the underperforming is accurate. But yeah, do you think he'll care enough to call Colorado Republicans?
I don't know. He's got a lot of things going on, but I think one thing that we know about Donald Trump is he doesn't like to be embarrassed. He doesn't like to be associated with losers. And until Dave Williams got his boat blown out of the water last night, Trump had not lost an endorsement in a congressional primary so far this year, and Williams lost by 30 points.
But he likes big. So I guess if you're going to lose, you could lose bigly, right?
Lose bigly. Marshall, thank you.
Our next question comes from Barbara in Broomfield, who wants to know if Republicans really bucked the party line by rejecting the slate of GOP-endorsed primary candidates, or if it was unaffiliated voters who came in to swing those races.
So, Barbara, the final results are still being tallied, but we don't see anything that suggests that unaffiliated voters overwhelmingly piled into Republican primaries, despite the fact that Colorado Republicans insist that Democrats and unaffiliated voters are working together to sway their primaries. Here are the numbers. Unaffiliated voters turned in just more than a third of the 1 million ballots returned as of midnight last night, despite the fact that unaffiliateds outnumber Democrats and Republicans. Of the ballots that have been processed so far, unaffiliated voters were pretty evenly split between participating in the Republican and the Democratic primary. They actually leaned to participate in the Democratic primary. Progressives suffered some key losses in state legislative races, falling to centrist candidates backed by business interests and state Democratic leaders. Moderates argue that it's a clear statement from voters that Democrats should be using their majorities at the state capitol to find middle ground compromises on housing and drug policy and gun control. There's certainly no precise definition of which candidate is more progressive than another, but by our informal tally, progressive candidates lost 8 of the 11 Colorado state legislative races to more moderate candidates. Sometimes a wide ideological gap, sometimes it was narrow. These two, though, a lot of focus on Democratic representatives Elizabeth Epps and Tim Hernandez of Denver. They both sponsored the failed ban on so-called assault weapons. They made national headlines for their pro-Palestinian stances, and they lost to more centrist candidates last night. Today, their supporters claimed it's because voters were misled. Sean Camacho, who beat Representative Epps 2-1, he's a former Republican who now says he is a progressive. And Cecilia Espinoza, who beat Hernandez by single digits, she pushed back last night against being labeled as a centrist.
As I've always said in this race, I consider myself a pragmatic progressive. I'm not allowing the far left to take our label of being progressive. It's a difference between a avowed democratic socialist and a pragmatic progressive.
There's a loud room for a party. I don't think she hollers all the time like that. Last night was not a total loss for progressives. 5 House members, Democrats, appear headed for seats in the Senate, where they will be replacing more moderate Democrats. Almost a year ago, Denver's mayor made a promise to do what no other major American city has done: end chronic homelessness. And today we're learning more about how many people the city is able to move from temporary shelter into permanent housing. It's a turnaround that's picking up speed to about 6 people per week. Here's Kelly Rinke.
Thank you for joining us.
By the end of this year, Denver's mayor and his team want to move 2,000 people living on the streets indoors.
Our efforts to do so are largely dependent upon our ability to move people through the all-in mile-high sites.
The ultimate goal isn't to keep people in a hotel room.
We've seen significant uptick in those permanent housing outcomes.
In front of city council members Wednesday, the mayor's office shared an update. After spending more than $55 million, more people are leaving temporary shelters like hotels for permanent housing.
Basically 6 people per week, almost 1 person every single day at this point.
6 people per week are moving out of temporary shelters. Cole Chandler, the mayor's senior advisor on homelessness, says it's an improvement.
The Denver Housing Authority, they've been great partners to us.
He credits new housing vouchers and an increase in case management.
And we're starting to see a huge uptick in service delivery. We're getting better at delivering that services.
Denver has a goal to end homelessness. It relies on people finding permanent housing.
How are we moving through those people who have lingered in this system for an extremely long time now?
Yeah. Well, honestly, I wouldn't say it's been an extremely long time.
Council members are tracking this process closely, with so much money behind the city's goal.
We are seeing neighborhoods that were previously overrun by large encampments looking dramatically different.
So the city began offering hotel rooms in September. Some people who moved in then are still there 9 months later. The city expects and hopes to temporarily house people for 6 months before moving them to permanent housing. Kyle.
And Kelly, in some situations, they're actually like offering people on the streets house keys.
Yeah, they call it street to lease. And according to the city today, they say they've done that 3 times now, where they offer people housing right on the spot rather than moving them to a temporary shelter.
All right, Kelly Rinke, thank you so much. So there is a village of small homes in Longmont. It's a place for veterans to live as they're moving from homelessness to stability. The Veterans Community Project is already changing lives, even though the project is only partially complete. That's why this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supports the nonprofit Veterans Community Project. They offer housing for homeless veterans and their families, plus wraparound services to address whatever other challenges the veteran has to help them find a stable path forward in life. They have 6 small homes so far, with plans to add 20 more so they can help dozens of veterans a year as they stabilize their lives. The village opened last year, and the first veteran just moved out well ahead of schedule, which speaks to the impact and the success of their programs. The nonprofit is now launching a final fundraising push to build out the rest of the homes so they can increase their impact. And they're doing this with 2 big gifts from family foundations in our community. What that means to us is that any dollar we raise through this microgiving campaign is going to be doubled by a matching gift. Scan the QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 to get that link to donate. You have proven through your microgiving that even $5 helps, and I'll never ask you to give if I don't. So I'll match the first 50 donations of $50 or $5. And remember, this time around, your donation and mine will be doubled. Close to 3,000 of you have signed up to simplify your giving with a monthly donation to the Word of Thanks Fund, and that has meant that we have started out your recent microgiving campaigns with almost $20,000 in donations each week. You use that same QR code or text to get there. It is officially biting season, and the first case of West Nile coming early in Colorado is not good news. Slow train summer might be here to stay. RTD leaders say their aging system means that we just need to get used to delays and detours. Colorado has recorded its first human West Nile case of the year. Somebody living in Arapahoe County got infected. The health department says this is concerning because the state doesn't usually see its first human case until later in the summer. Last year was Colorado's worst year for West Nile in 2 decades. There were more than 600 cases across 40 counties. 50 people died. Public health leaders say as we get further into the season, mosquito population will only grow, and so will the risk of West Nile. Firefighters are still struggling to contain a wildfire in Pueblo County. Lightning sparked the Oak Ridge fire Saturday, and it spread to nearly 800 acres. There's a mandatory evacuation in place for people on Middle Creek Canyon Road in Beulah, and nearby neighborhoods have been warned to prepare to go if that fire shifts. Smoke from the wildfire has led to an air quality health advisory for western Pueblo County and eastern Custer County. Firefighters not getting a lot of help from the weather, Kathy Saban.
No, all the ingredients are there for scattered severe thunderstorms tonight. And so far, we've had gentle showers, a little thunder, a little lightning, a little bit of wind. But lightning and wind, something fire managers do not want to see, especially battling a blaze north of Wellington earlier this afternoon. Back in the 90s, we went today. We didn't see a triple-digit high, but 95 way above the average of 87 and close to 100 in southeastern Colorado. Rain for the evening drive, dark clouds hovering over the city. Still the chance for some storms with hail. Denver, we cooled back to 73 thanks to that rain shower. 82 in Greeley, 96 in Lamar, and 81 in the high country. Severe weather in Wyoming. Thunderstorms are tracking from the southwest to the northeast over Denver, bringing that beneficial rain. But again, wind and lightning, something that we do not want to see when conditions have been so warm and so dry. Severe weather in southeastern Colorado. A couple of storms with hail quarter size and 60-mile-per-hour winds as these storms track quickly toward toward the northeast outside of the Springfield area tonight. We are in a slight risk level 2 out of 5 across the eastern plains for severe storms that could bring damaging winds, a landspout tornado, and some large hail. And so when you see that outlook, level 1 marginal, level 2 slight, there's a greater chance of seeing hail bigger than golf balls, and again, storms with rotation. These storms will go from the southwest to the northeast tonight. We got to watch for outflow boundaries, which may create another round of showers for us overnight. And then we're going to do this all over again tomorrow. Morning sun, afternoon clouds, and then scattered thunderstorms. Temperatures much more comfortable as we move through the next 4 hours. We have a high of 91 with scattered storms tomorrow. And then how about 88 Friday, 84 Saturday, and then back to sunshine in 90s for Sunday and Monday.
Slow trains, power outages, entire sections of track shut down, no interest in public transparency. Boy, makes you want to give RTD more money, huh? RTD thinks you should. Try and follow me here. So, a person is on an RTD train that leaves the station going 10 miles per hour and then stops completely. Another person chooses literally any other way to get around the Denver metro area. Which one is smarter? You didn't think that was a math problem at first, did you? So miles of the E and the H lines in RTD's southwest corridor have been part of RTD's slow train summer. RTD estimates that repairs on those lines will last till fall. They insist the lines are safe to travel, just very, very slowly. This morning, some of the corridor went from very, very slowly to a complete stop due to a power outage between Yale and Colorado. Things are back up and running now, but RTD leadership has been warning these slowdowns and breakdowns will become more routine because of their aging infrastructure.
RTD is going through a period where our system is starting to age. We are starting to see what happens after a system gets to this point. We are getting more proactive and less reactive. The result is that we do find things.
But hey, how about some more money for RTD? Yesterday, board members approved a ballot proposal for November asking voters to permanently exempt their budget from the revenue limits under the Taxpayer Bill of Rights. That would allow RTD to keep money that would otherwise be refunded to taxpayers. We return with your feedback next. I didn't think they were going to show us that. The Veteran Community Project in Longmont is a tiny home village where veterans experiencing homelessness can find a place to live for them and their families and also get wraparound services to help them through whatever challenges they might have in their lives. The nonprofit has 6 houses built and already working with veterans, but they need our help as a community to get the final 20 homes built. To join me in this week's Word of Thanks microgiving campaign supporting the Veterans Community Project, scan that QR code on your screen or text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491. You'll see 2 options, one to give just this week to this project, or another to set up a recurring monthly donation to chip in a little bit for every weekly microgiving campaign we run. Texter today says, what's happening with your pocket square? Your pocket looks stuffed. Yeah, that does look a little weird. Somebody else texts, is the pocket square a sham? Wow. Okay. All right. Well, we can get rid of that. Susan in Brighton, new sports jacket. It's not new, but have not worn it since 2022. Lenny says, wasn't sure if I liked you, but after watching your debate, I think you should be the moderator for every debate the country has. Sounds like a full-time job. I've already got one. Thanks, though.